What's up YouTube, this is Collect Pokemon and welcome back to another video. I am actually very exhausted, but a YouTuber's gonna do what a YouTuber's gonna do. They have to make YouTube video. So today is quite an interesting day actually. This morning I planned to make this video and later in the afternoon there has been news regarding the release of some amazing 25th anniversary products, and that is the Chinese set for the Charizard box, Blastoise box, as well as the Venusaur box that we have seen in the opening before. So yeah, you guys can take a look at the photo. So these are actually quite amazing collectibles, I do believe, because you know the set of the Kanto starter just looks really good. So in today's video, I really want to talk about some history about Chinese Pokemon card and you know how that they have came to where it is now and where I do see them go, and the limitations and also the strength of why to collect or why not to collect, or why to invest or why not to invest in these Chinese Pokemon card. So sit back, relax. I have a page of things I want to talk about, so I'm going to go for it right here. But before we do that, remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and go check out our Patreon as well as our website. Maybe in the future I will start adding Chinese packs in the Patreon mystery monthly package thing. Now, and yeah, do watch until the end of the video because I'm also going to announce some sort of stuff that I'm putting on my website for pre-sale. Alright, so let's talk about Chinese Pokemon card. Well, Chinese Pokemon card was really not that big of a thing for a really long time. First, you need to understand the concept of Chinese. There are two types of popular language right now, the traditional Chinese and the simplified Chinese. So, you know, with the history about using traditional Chinese or simplified Chinese, mainland China has decided to, you know, pretty much vote for, you know, to use the simplified Chinese because it was easier for people when it was developing in history to just learn how to write, to increase the literacy, right? So the so-called simplified Chinese are these traditional characters that are simplified, much easier to learn. But the Pokemon card are actually released in the traditional Chinese character, which are the more complicated, nicer looking character, some people will say. So that's what that is. Now here's the thing, the history of Chinese Pokemon card actually stems back from the first edition base set. Chinese Pokemon card, and when I refer to Chinese, I mean the traditional Chinese Pokemon card, is released in its first edition, I think in the year around 2000. It had quite a nice print run until I think a year later when they first started printing the Unlimited. The Unlimited print run was actually more limited than the first edition print run because, you know, somehow, you know, they just didn't make money, so they had to shut down the production line and things. So these were just, you know, rumors floating around, and that's what I heard, and I'm just telling you guys this. So do correct me if I do get this wrong. There is also a promo Pikachu, the Fossil Pikachu, which was released in Chinese. And you know, somewhere down the line in 2006, EX Legend Maker was another weird set that was released in traditional Chinese. And that's pretty much all the set that was ever released in traditional Chinese until the modern Sun and Moon Sword and Shield period. Now, traditional Chinese cards are, I mean, people liked it, some people liked it, some people, it just never really caught on. And I think that out of all the different types of language, Chinese maybe is one of the, I would say it's one of the smaller ones compared to a lot of the European language. So the Chinese Pokemon card has pretty much been on and off, and until a Magic the Gathering card store called MTG Genmint MTG, something along that line, acquired the IP rights and they started to make the Chinese set starting from the Sun and Moon era. They picked up on the Hidden Fates Shining cards and they mixed it up with some other Sun and Moon sets, which were primarily targeted at players. So I think that is the 1AC something and something like that around that line. At its release, it was in around 2019, which was one of the time when Pokemon is gaining a lot of traction. There was a lot of people speculating on the Shining Pokemon cards, a lot of investor going in. So at the initial release, it was very, very popular. It was very popular amongst players because they can read. I mean, as much as I want to say that, Hong Kong is quite an international city, a lot of people actually do prefer reading Chinese than English. So that's that. So yeah, so those cards took off, but sets after sets, sets after sets, it was a bunch of a mix and jumble. I mean, it was really rushed. There were only booster boxes. And I haven't actually done a lot of Chinese opening because I just never saw these Chinese cards to be of any good. With that said, things start to change. The Chinese Pokemon cards started picking up very close, very similar to how the Japanese cards are released. So when Japanese released the Ultra Shining V, there is a Chinese version with an F at the end. And then same with all the other set, for example, the Rayquaza set, now the 25th anniversary set. It is pretty much on par and equal and equivalent and almost exactly the same as you would get in the Japanese set, but a little later, usually a week to a month later. So that's that. And in 2020, they started to do a lot of more interesting stuff. So they started to include promo cards, especially very sought after promo cards in competition. They really want to push this Chinese card set into the international stage. They want it to be the official language for this Asia, Taiwan, Hong Kong region. But with that said, there are still some controversy as to whether, should we use all Chinese cards in world competition or those are still, going on debating about. But that is not my expertise. Now, the one thing that they did really well in the 25th anniversary, I'm going to get some water. The one thing that they did really well for the 25th anniversary set is that they did not follow Japan, nor did they follow the English set. They did not include the classic collection cards in either promo packs or in the main set. What they did was they actually printed a lot of additional products. These products included collector box as well as blister packs. And those are the places where you can actually find the classic collection promos. And which is, I think it's, which is really market-wise, I mean business-wise, that's a very, very smart move because you won't be able to saturate the market and the booster box can sell, you're just selling a lot more products in that way. Now, what I think is unique is how they took a little different path into releasing exclusive collector boxes. And when they first released the Venusaur box, we know that there was going to be a Charizard box and a Blastoise box, but we just don't know how it is going to turn out. But looking at that Venusaur box, when we opened it on the channel, it does look quite nice, and I would also assume the Charizard as well as the Blastoise is also going to be some amazing cards. Now, there are actually 4 classic collection cards that are not released as these promo products, with namely the one is Birthday Pikachu. Birthday Pikachu has been very, very sought after in recent days in Hong Kong. The Chinese Pikachu, the Chinese Birthday Pikachu card, is actually handed out in different large chain department stores. I think every day there's like an 80 card quota in each of these stores, and I think there's around 2 to 3 stores around Hong Kong. So every day they're giving out around like 180, 200 cards, something along that line. And we see people lining up, and the price of that has skyrocketed. It's pretty much free money. You go and get that card, and then someone will want to buy it back from you. So you go and get that card and pretty much someone would buy it back from you. So yeah, that's the current situation of this Hong Kong market or the Chinese Pokemon card. And a lot of people are asking me on Instagram, how do Chinese Pokemon card do in comparison to the English set? And I think that I've been talking to some kids and they've told me that their parents are buying Chinese Pokemon cards as gifts for other friends, family members, these sort of stuff. So I think that it is gaining a lot of traction. Now, here I talked about investment and collectability. So we're going to talk about the investment and collectability of these Chinese cards. The good thing is that it is relatively cheap to access and easy to access. And in comparison to the Japanese cards, the Chinese cards are still very heavily based on the player base. And if a set is not considered to be very playable, chances are it's not going to sell that well. So it's going to remain at that MSRP price, pretty much throughout its entire lifespan, kind of thing. They're very fun to open, and the quality are on par with the Japanese set. These cards are printed in Japan, but it has an English back, so that's why the quality is closer to your Japanese set. We rarely see, or we see much less of the centering issue, whitening issue, these sort of stuff. Many exclusive boxes are releasing in order to capture the market for collectors, and I think that they're heading in the right way. And I think that it does appeal to international collector as well. And first of all, being this Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise, collection box. The box itself looks nice. It's just nice. It's just the design is nice, and everything just looks really collectible, kind of thing. So I think that that one is going in the right way. But we still need to understand that there are some limitations, which is that the current Chinese Pokemon card are printed in traditional Chinese, and it is not really officially recognized in mainland China. So if a lot of people are thinking, hey, Chinese Pokemon card, China is a growing market, will it be really good in China? Well, first of all, Pokemon is an international IP. It's more of a Japanese IP, and in China, there are some restriction, and it's actually not that easy to promote a foreign IP within China. So that is an issue. The second thing is the Chinese are, like I said, it's very high player base, but not really collector base. So what we're gonna see is that the card price we might not see that much of a price increase for Chinese card. This kind of reminds me of what Japanese cards used to be like. For the longest time, Japanese cards was never valued as in comparison to English. It was kind of considered to be, the cheaper alternative. But in recent set, we've seen that the Japanese cards have skyrocketed in price, and I think that what we're going to see in the Chinese cards is going to be very similar to what Japanese card was back then. I think it does, and it will take some time before we see these Chinese cards go up in price. Yeah, that's pretty much what I think. Most likely you have to wait 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, is anyone's guess. But as a collector, I do think that it is just fun. So the verdict I would have is that Chinese Pokemon cards are really fun to open. It's cheap. It's just cheaper. And going forward, I think that there are some more better design, better collectability in these cards. One more thing that I want to talk about is that a lot of people mistaken Chinese card as fake cards. I've talked to Crystal Collect, I've seen many different posts on Verbank and everything else saying that Chinese cards are fake. People need to learn that, there is a difference between counterfeit card and Chinese cards. Yes, a lot of counterfeit cards are printed in China, but it doesn't mean that Chinese cards are fake. Okay, so counterfeit cards are counterfeit card of an English card. They never really print a counterfeit Chinese card so far. Never seen it. But yes, so you guys have to get that misconception straightened out. The Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise box set, the collector box set. So I have uploaded a few of them onto my website. You guys can check that out, collectpokemon.com, link in the description below. Basically, I would allow a small quantity to be pre-ordered. These sets will be released sequentially from October to November to December, and after all the sets is released, these sets that you buy will be shipped to you. Currently, I'm only allowing a small quantity because I simply don't know the numbers and how the market is going to be. It's a really kind of rough estimate that I want you guys to have to pre-order and just enjoy some of these cards. That's pretty much it. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. This is Collect Pokemon. Bye bye.